Alright everyone, I mentioned this yesterday several times, but I wanted a dedicated sort of standalone video for the basic concept because I think still there are some people that are unaware of this fact. This fact is that our immigration system, because it involves imprisonment of people who are illegally here, automatically is going to cause families to become separated. If you have adult illegals, they brought a kid over. They're detained, they're being processed. They're not gonna, they're going to a prison facility. Do you really want to put their kids in jail with them? And you can't have the parents and children together. It's just not feasible because of the system the way it is. Trump is fundamentally correct. This has been in place since Bill Clinton. There have been stories from the Obama admin where twice as many kids as now were being detained. We've had cases of abuse continuously. And by the way, there are some reports of abuse in some detention centers. I think that's despicable. Anyone involved should be immediately fired and they should be the ones that are in prison. An ICE agent, someone from fucking the DOJ, a cop, whatever it happens to be. If you're being abusive, you're being abusive. Doesn't matter whether it's towards if it's towards an immigrant or a native citizen. That being said though, all of these things, all these images, like the crying girl picture that's now been debunked, that's going to be key video of the day. It's pure propaganda. The thing is, the problem has been ongoing for years. You simply didn't hear so much about it. When you briefly heard about it, I believe during the middle of Obama's second term, we're talking like 2014, 2015. It was briefly spoken of, oh yeah, these detention centers are vile, look, these kids are sleeping on the floor, and then there's not enough, resources really. It's like, five people to a cell sort of situation, big open air sort of prison essentially. Oh, here's the yard. It's got, 8 inches of barbed wire on top of the 20-foot fence to keep people in. It's a detention camp. It's like a concentration camp. Why are we doing this to little kids? You heard that briefly. You didn't really hear anything about it though until, well, look, about a week ago. I wonder why. Trump didn't impose some new policy. He's just enforcing the law at a greater degree than Obama was towards the end of his career as president. For the last couple of years, because of those stories coming out, Obama said, oh, fuck it, basically. I'm not going to even bother. I'm going to institute catch and release. And I'm going to say, well, unless they're an axe murderer, and sometimes even if they are, I don't care. We're going to take a hands-off approach. Fuck the law. Because and part of it is the Republicans' fault. Hear me out for those of you who are more like a partisan. Part of it's the Republicans' fault. Obama briefly entertained the idea of actually attempting to hammer out some sort of new system. Now, it doesn't mean I would have agreed with the new system, but he did try. He did try to impose that. The Republicans at the time did obstruct. They completely obstructed. They said no, they didn't even talk about it. That is actually true. The House Republicans didn't want to work with him on immigration reform. This has been the case with Republicans and Democrats for 30 fucking years. So it's not just Obama. It's just that the problem was really, really bad there, and Obama was the one who decided to go, from half-assed to fully ballless and say, okay, well then the law doesn't even apply anymore. I'm going to sign an executive order preventing me from even doing what Congress wants me to do. What Trump has said. He was very smart. Trump put out a tweet, on the 20th. Showing a compilation of other political individuals, Pelosi, Schumer, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Obama, talking about the issue of immigration. They're basically all echoing the same thing. Oh, our system's broken. It needs to be fixed. If you come here just because you have a kid doesn't mean you stay here. Hey, we're going to enforce the law. We need to defend the border. We need to defend our country. They sound a lot like Trump, and yet none of these people were ever called Hitler. I would ask anyone who's like a partisan Democrat, hashtag resist or immigrant families belong together. Okay, whatever. Okay, so you believe it that way. Is Clinton Hitler? Is Obama double Hitler? Because, at the time there were twice as many people being detained. There are fewer people being detained now. You know why? Because a lot of them chose to leave when Trump was elected. Self-deportation to some degree was actually real. Can you imagine how bad the detention facilities would be if it were a Democrat and Obama that were actually attempting to enforce immigration law? Take a long time and a lot of misery. This is crying girl picture. It turns out, hey, she wasn't separated from her parents. She's just 2. Did I not yesterday point out, hey, sometimes 2-year-olds just cry. Sometimes they cry, they cry. You can't give the cat a haircut. Oh, no, wow. Womp womp, as Lewandowski or whatever his name is. Womp womp. No, you can't just eat Skittles for dinner. A butterfly lands on them. They run and scream and cry. That's what the toddlers fucking do. It's just the way that they act. Yeah, it's a little bit like Coco the gorilla, aka a little bit like the alt-left. They're toddlers. They cry sometimes. You know, kids cry. Whoa, you know, it's just the way that it works. I'm not saying, by the way, you know, before anyone jumps down my throat, I'm not saying that it's ideal to detain children, but what else are you supposed to do? Now, apparently what they do is they ask their kids what their parents do, like as a job or something, so that they can sort of help to verify who their parents are. Yeah, that's helpful, but, you know, in some cases, there's still no documentation. The documentation is in another country, or it doesn't exist at all. You've got some fundamentally broken nation with a shitty internal system, you know, some cartel-repulsed area of the Yucatan Peninsula, and you're expecting there to be thorough documentation of who's who? That's not the way that it would. The cartel probably has better documentation than the local government does in some cases. I mean, you've got these areas, yes, they're shitty because they've been racked by cartel violence in many cases, which is why people come here, they seek asylum, or they illegally immigrate. They're like, hey, I can sit here, probably get a hand chopped off at some point, make 10 cents a day, or I can go be illegal in the US, their minimum wage, hell, I'll send $1 a day back home, and my family will think that they're living high on the hog. They can pay the cartel to, you know, not rape my sister or something, basically. That's how it works. And I feel sorry for these people. You know what the answer is? Build a border wall so there's no longer incentive, and then end the drug war. And then work with those countries to snuff out the cartels once we've drained a good proportion of their revenue away by ending the drug war. Problem solved. But they're not going to solve the problem. They want for-profit prisons to be propped up. That's why the Republicans and the Democrats, neither of them have had the balls to touch this issue because, number one, it's a political hot potato. So they would rather obstruct and pretend there's no problem and let it be an issue, but just sort of both sides agree not to talk about it too much. The Republicans always make a vague statement about deporting illegals. The Democrats make a vague statement about giving some kind of conditional residency to some of the people that are already here, and they just bounce back and forth like that with this shitty status quo that doesn't work for anyone forever. The Democrats want to slowly give amnesty to those people because they think of them as captive voters. The Republicans want them here as slave labor. That's what it boils down to. Well, actually, they both kind of want the slave labor at this point. With the Democrats becoming the corporatist party, look for them eventually to be against the concept of amnesty. They'll water it down further and they'll say, well, maybe kind of sort of conditional residency for some people. And then they just won't deport the rest. They'll do what Obama did, catch and release. Anytime that they're in control of the White House. They just won't enforce the law so that more slaves can come in to prop up their corporate profits and their fucking greed. And then they'll say, well, we care about these children so much. No, you don't. You don't care about the children. If you cared about the children, you would have raised a stink about this in the 90s under Clinton, and in the 2000s under W, and in the 2010s, you know, the first half under Obama. They all did the same thing. You'd raise a stink about 500,000 dead Iraqi children, but you don't even talk about the Middle East anymore. You literally don't care. Oh, Trump actually manages more or less at this point to snuff ISIS off the face of the earth in many of these places, saving a lot of children. You don't give him credit. Meanwhile, what did Obama do? Make sure that there were plenty of child slaves coming from places like Syria and Libya. Some of them get enslaved in Europe now. You know, the European governments aren't doing shit. They're so hogtied by their political correctness shtick that they've built up for so long that they literally can't even solve their own problems anymore. This is why the EU is doomed. This is why there will be more countries that leave, and eventually it'll become Germany, Germany's vassal states, and it'll just be an industrial muscle in the middle of Europe. That's fundamentally what the EU is going to become. The UK will probably drain Northern Europe off, the French will create a bloc, and then there'll be an Eastern European bloc as well. That's probably the form in which it's going to take, and it'll be better, by the way, and stronger as a result. Yeah, if Trump is Hitler for detaining a few tens of thousands of kids, is Obama double Hitler for detaining twice as many? Or because he's a Democrat and called himself a liberal once, is he immune from that particular criticism? I don't remember anybody calling Obama Hitler for his immigration proposals. By the way, detaining children was regrettable then and is still regrettable now. In all honesty, it is regrettable. If you had had a border wall, this wouldn't be a problem now, would it? You know, those detention facilities, one reason that they look shitty is because they're overcrowded, because of the number of people. Think about it under Obama when there were twice as many kids in those camps. How crowded were they then? How shitty were they then? There's a picture of kids literally wrapped in like foil blankets and stuff. That's all, I guess, that they could give them. They couldn't even give them proper beds. The facilities are arguably better off now than they were, 5 years ago. Still regrettable. Just think, though. Let's say that you had reduced illegal immigration just by 50%. Like you build the wall, it just reduces it by 50%. People still go under it, they go around it, they go over it, whatever. So 50% less crowding in those detention facilities, just think, it would cost less. There'd be more resources available. There'd be some semblance of dignity there. Instead, they would just like to cherry pick the 2 kids that were upset that day, crying about mama and papa, and then including a picture of something that doesn't even have anything to do with that particular part of the crisis in order to propagandize. The Time magazine cover is literally a lie. This is literally a form of corporate propaganda on behalf of the Democrats that have become a corporate party and some never-Trumpers that go along with them because they don't want to solve the problems the United States has with anything other than the status quo. We have been trying, kicking the can down the road for decades, and it has never worked. Since the Reagan administration, we've tried the same things that the never-Trumpers and Democrats are proposing now. That is variously a little bit of amnesty here and there, a few deportations here and there. We'll throw up a 4-inch chain link fence and call it a day. That's what they've been doing. Does it work? Or has it continuously failed? We've had 3 different rounds of people being granted amnesty already, including under Ronald Reagan himself, because of this. I'm not opposed to granting amnesty for certain groups of illegals that have done nothing else particularly wrong. They came as an unaccompanied minor. Okay, I'm not going to kick them back out to cartel land. Not a criminal? Okay, they were born here and they're a citizen, their parents aren't. It's like, well, it's a difficult situation. One thing we could implement is the ability for them to expedite the process of renouncing their citizenship, waiving the fee for them to do that so they can go home, if that's their choice. They should be able to make that choice when they're old enough to understand the consequences of staying or leaving. They should be able to make that choice. Don't violate their NEP, in other words. If they're legally a citizen, they're entitled under our current judicial definition of birthright citizenship. And by the way, people on the alt-right, they're like, whoa, that's not settled. Oh, okay, it's not settled technically, but it's pragmatically speaking, that's the way we do business. Give them the option, though, if they want to go home. But make it clear, we're not bringing your parents over anymore simply because you are a citizen. Later on, if you got the money, you can petition, you can get them into that lottery system, which is also dumb as a box of rocks, but it's the law of the land right now. Trump opposes. He wants to do away with the visa lottery. Wise decision by the Democrats should love that. Hey, we can take more legal immigrants. Maybe that helps slow down illegal immigration. At least people are documented. Meanwhile, build the fucking wall. That's all you gotta do. People are so dumb on this. There's so much hypocrisy from the Democrats on it. It doesn't make any sense at all. Trump is, look, he's running concentration camps. He's like Hitler, and Melania is like Ava Braun. By the way, her shirt when she went to the McAllen Immigration Detention Center, classic Trump-style trolling. Oh, I can't wait to analyze that. That's the next video. That's about all. Peace out.